riding down the street with a handful of comic books, kicking ass and
What the hell is this?
Yeah.
banging chicks and drinking booze
No, not
and
me.
smoking
Not
weed.
me. I'm married.
Yeah, well,
I'm married.
Jake,
Can't do that.
yeah. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That beautiful theme song that, believe it or not, was created last week on the fly.
To say that was amazing is probably the understatement of my lifetime. I would have to say, is that
Some would say
it's brilliant.
Some would say genre defining.
Well, the thing was, I was like, cool, you chop it up and do something with it. And before he had even posted the show, like an hour later, he was like, check your email. And I'm like, how the fuck did you get that guitar to go exactly with me?
Yeah.
Me and Drake.
I don't know. It just, some things just work.
If you hadn't said the whole thing about like, well, not me because I'm married, I would have gone on and like smoking crack and beating ass, driving Corvettes, you know.
Hey, you know, that I posted just the theme song
Yeah.
on TikTok, and people like it. So
The whole point of the song was to be exactly what, like, you know, like a 13-year-old boy thinks being an adult is, you know.
yeah.
Like what does a badass adult do, Mr. 13-year-old teenager? Well, he walks down the street with armfuls of comic books, banging chicks and doing drugs and drinking booze.
Because that's what life is. That's how you measure success in life.
And then he drives a car without having to ask his mom to borrow it. It's awesome.
Fuck that.
Fucking awesome.
Because he's rich. Yeah.
He's got at least $500 in the bank.
You know. He works that he loves working that minimum wage job.
He could he could eat at McDonald's every day.
Yeah, buddy.
Lucky fucker.
Actually, you know, fun fact. I think my freshman year of high school, I was living my best life as a teenager.
Nice.
Because I had a job.
Nice.
And so, like, every week, because I had no responsibilities, I'm a 15-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid. So, like, pretty much every paycheck, I was buying a new video game.
Yeah.
And
If I could sit down with my 13-year-old self, I would say, save your fucking money. None of what you're doing right now is that important, because when you're my age, you're going to want to sit on a beach earning 20%.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life. Especially because guess what? I don't want to spoil things for you, but our planet is about to explode. So
yeah, we only got a few years.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy what you can.
Actually, you know what? Don't save that shit.
No,
go out and buy a hooker.
Buy a fucking yacht. Do it. And welcome to episode number 2 of Off Panel Off Topic.
I worked 50 years at Shakey's as a busboy to buy that yacht.
So, Tyler, here's what we got on the agenda today for the show.
I'm excited.
We're going to be talking about the current Avengers run in the comics. You wanted to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the fact that I watched Space Jam on HBO Max on a Sunday afternoon, and let me tell you, it's going to be an interesting
still hasn't recovered.
story. I don't think I have. And then we're going to wrap things up with our spoiler-heavy, full-on analysis of Green Lantern Earth 1 Volume 1. So you can listen to most of this show, and then once we get to that, if you want to read that book, you can stop, read it. And it's a quick read, by the way.
It is.
You could stop, read that, and then come back. Because I don't want to spoil it for you, because it's a really cool story. And with that being said, we're going to transition from Green Lantern straight into Marvel. And
Boom.
So the podcast resident Marvel fanboy is here.
Yeah.
Which is funny that I say that, because currently I'm reading more Marvel books than I am DC, so I'm kind of a hypocrite.
See, what the audience doesn't know is that I'm totally a Marvel whore. We actually went to the comic book store one time, which was probably one of my favorite comic book store trips ever, just because it's Jake. And plus, he's...
Do you love me, or do you in love with me?
Yeah, a little bit. Don't tell Ashley. It's cool.
Hey, I love you too, buddy.
I mean, she'll be kind of like, well, what?
I mean...
Is that why you guys spend so much time together? No.
You know, it's funny. Who would have thought that podcast co-hosts would spend as much time with me during the week?
We just love you so much.
Well, it's not just podcasting. It's making music and shit. But you know what I mean.
Right. So I'm walking around getting my comics. And for the last, 6 months or so, I've gotten back into comic book reading. I only buy, maybe 1 or 2 issues a week because they're expensive as fuck. But I have my titles. And, Immortal Hulk, Avengers.
You just got to do my method. You just got to wait for it to get put into a trade.
Yeah.
That's what I do. And I know that you like
The little mini series they've had coming out, like Black Knight, I've been reading, and the Beta Ray Bill one.
Yeah.
But Avengers.
But I'm just saying, if you do it every week, or if it's expensive.
I'm sorry, once a month, because
even once a month.
Books only come out once a month. I'm sorry.
That's the thing. Even once a month can be expensive,
right? But there's like, releases in week 1 of July, and then releases in week 2. So yeah,
I think the only time that would get really annoying for me is if there's an event. But usually, I just wait for the events. I tried to
follow that Heroes Reborn or Heroes Return shit, and I got to be honest, it was not that special. Although the 2 bookend books that encompass the entire thing without buying all the tie-ins in the middle, thanks Marvel, are really, really good.
Yeah.
But anyway. So in the current Avengers run, I would say I started back when Marvel Legacy came out, #1, and that was the introduction of the 1 million BC Avengers. That was also where Wolverine came back to life after being encased in adamantium. That's where they started the Marvel 2-in-1, which was Human Torch and Thing, because at the time Reed Richards and his family were lost in space. So that was kind of a cool little thing, because that was a big book when I was a kid, is Marvel 2-in-1. Now, what was going on is that eventually this all culminates with a giant force of Celestials called the Final Host, and they come to Earth because it's revealed that the reason why there's why there's so many supers on Earth is because a Celestial back in the day came to Earth and died, and it was infected with a disease. And they show like this whole, they go through the entire thing. They show this like part. Loki shows Captain America, like takes him back in time, and it's this Celestial just bleeding from every part of his armor. It's insane. And I didn't read it for a while. They eventually beat the Final Host, but currently the Avengers live in something called Avengers Mountain on the North Pole. And I'm not sure how it happened because I wasn't reading it between the 2 events, but they live in a dead Celestial. It's this giant frozen Celestial just standing there pointing out one finger, and it's called Avengers Mountain. Yeah. The current Avengers team is, a general Avengers team, but Blade is on it, which is kind of neat. Yeah. Because it's like, that's an interesting take.
Well, they got to start building interest for that movie.
The vampires just got their own nation. And Blade is in charge of making sure they don't fucking go anywhere. So that's kind of cool. And it kind of ties into Thor. I started reading Thor after we talked last week. I bought like 13, 14, 15 to kind of get back into it. Donald Blake is a real person and lost his mind, and that's all insane. But it looks like in the latest issue of Thor, it looks a lot like Thor just gave Mjolnir to Captain America. And also Echo, who is going to be a character in the upcoming Hawkeye series, is the one who won the Phoenix Force, because there was a whole 6-issue arc because the Phoenix Force came to Earth and
again.
Yeah, I know.
Like the 3rd or 4th time that's happened.
Yeah, this year. No, but I think it's really cool because it's the Avengers that I grew up with, but it's not, and it's updated to a point where it's interesting again.
Well, here's the thing that did Blade being added to the team feel organic?
Oh yeah,
because that feels like, and I'll give credit. Who's writing it right now? Who's doing
I believe it's Bendis. He came over.
No, because Bendis is with DC.
Yeah, I'll check. Let me check here.
Because
it's probably Donny Cates. That guy's a badass.
Well, I'm saying that's why I'm asking, because he.
Yeah, I'm looking it up.
Donny Cates writes fucking everything for Marvel.
Continue with your.
Well, the reason I'm asking, or the reason I'm saying that, is because it definitely feels like Disney had input on that, and being like, "Hey, we've got this Blade movie coming up. We want to say that it isn't like the Wesley Snipes Blade. It's a whole new thing. We want that to change. So why don't you try and work him into mainline comics? Because it's the same thing."
Jason Aaron.
Okay, yeah. Jason.
He's been writing
Jason
Thor.
Aaron.
Yeah, he's been writing. He wrote that King Thor thing.
Well, he wrote he created Gore the God Butcher and did all that stuff. But yeah, that worries me a little bit. As cool as it is to have Blade in like mainline continuity and have people do it, but it just feels like when DC did it with John Constantine for that show that they just completely killed,
butchered.
Which I get. Well, that was the first mistake. Why are they trying to sell John Constantine other than what he is? He is a hard R-rated character because he deals with really fucked up, gross, demonic shit.
He's chain smokes, which Hollywood doesn't like.
Yeah.
He's a heavy drinker.
Yeah.
And and just for all the conservatives out there,
he's not really likable at all.
And just for the conservatives out there, he's also gay. So
I thought he was bisexual.
You know, honestly,
he's probably pansexual, to be honest with you.
Yeah, to be honest, if he's having anything to do with the same sex, it concerns conservatives. So I'm saying, like,
yeah, I know.
Even bisexual or gay wouldn't make a difference to them. It would be well, you've seen another man's penis.
But that's what I'm worried about because. Now, I'm coming at a different thing because I grew up with the movies. I didn't read the comic books. So my only knowledge of Blade is what I saw with the Wesley Snipes movies. So,
see, I've known Blade for a long, long time.
I just want to do something right now. A couple years ago, I was watching through the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, and they totally fucking made Blade a white dude in the cartoon.
Seriously?
The Spider-Man cartoon.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was legit, because I was like excited. I was like, I don't remember this. I was like, they're going to put Blade in the show? That's cool. And then it was a white dude in like a futuristic, like, it didn't look like Blade at all. And I was like, what the fuck?
When the Secret Wars, the last one was going on, is about probably around the time that I first went back into the comic shop. And I bought an issue here and there just to kind of whatever, but one of them that I picked up was like a Secret Wars anthology series, and it was just all these different stories that were happening on Battle World. And one of the stories was Blade. They were usually like really fucked up team ups, and one of my favorites was Blade and Howard the Duck.
Yeah,
and they fought a vampire duck, and it was fucking great because it was just like, what?
So where do you think it's going? Like,
I'm not sure, but I mean, because again, you know, one thing I forgot about reading comics on the reg.
You're reading it month to month.
Well, the thing is that you have these team books with people who have solo books. Like, I haven't read Captain America. I'm reading the Captain America, United States of Captain America, but I haven't been reading the Captain America series because I'm not up on it. I don't want to jump in.
You gotta
But Todd Nehisi Coates is writing it, though. So, I mean, what am I waiting for?
The current run is the one that we talked about on Tinfoil, where it was he made Red Skull like Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. See, I should be, but anyway.
No, you should be. I've heard good things about Captain America.
So
the current run.
Immortal Hulk is not in the Avengers or any other team, so he doesn't have a team that he deals with. So when I read that book, I'm not worried about like what else is going on in the Avengers.
Isn't that ending soon?
Yeah, but such a good book. Anyway,
see, again,
Thor at the end of Thor 15.
Go ahead,
real quick, sorry.
No.
Hold that thought though. At the end of Thor 15, again, he puts the hammer on the table and walks away. He's having drinks with Captain America, and then he walks away and he says, "I'm a king, no, not a soldier." Okay, so we don't know what that means, right? But in the Avengers currently, this is what I hate about it, because they fuck up the continuity. They tell these writers, like, hey, Thor writer, you can do whatever you want because we're going to go ahead and say that what's going on in the Avengers right now happened like a month earlier or a month later.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of difficult because in the Avengers comics, Thor ain't having no crisis of leadership and shit. He ain't what? And in Thor, he was trapped under Yggdrasil, the world tree, for like a while.
Yeah.
But he's in Avengers doing, you know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of shit that I'm like, fuck, you know. So where do I think it's going? Fucking who knows, man. I don't even know where the current run of Thor takes place in the Avengers timeline. It's very confusing, but that's also the fun of comic books because now I'm layered in really dense mythology that I can use to.
Yeah, but at the same time, as you just talked, I mean, it's also what's infuriating about the medium is because I don't have the time to sift through like 2 or 3 issues of books that I don't care about or I'm not reading, where I want to focus on the one. Like, I want to read Thor. I don't want to fucking read all these other issues to read.
But you can. That's the thing. Is that
No, and the way that the way that Thor is written, you could because I'm currently reading it as well, and the way that it's written is very linear.
Oh shit! I just told you what happened.
It's fine. It's fine, dude. Because I have
spoilers.
We'll talk more about this later, but I have Comixology Unlimited.
Oh yeah,
so
that's right.
By having that, it is a gift to have that for me, but it's also a curse because there's so many books that are available that.
That's all I would do.
And a lot of them are.
How much does it cost a month?
Like $6.
Are you? And you just read comics anytime you want?
Not well, only certain ones that they have in Unlimited, but like
which is a shitload, I'm assuming.
No, there's still a shit ton, yeah. But
that's quite a deal, man. You know, people should sign up for Comixology.
Are you trying
Unlimited.
to like get a fucking sponsor? After all the shit we've said about Amazon, they're not. Gonna
you know what? Let's put a pin in Comixology Unlimited. We'll talk about those benefits
what
later.
I'm saying is, it's a gift and a curse because there's so many books that I found that I want to read that I've been meaning to read. And then I start reading them, and then I open up the app, and before I go to my books, this is how they get you. There's more. There's
like 10 that are like, well, I want to read those too.
They've got that. They've got the fact that I like using my membership, so they're like, okay, well, the algorithm knows you like unlimited books. That's what you mostly read, right? So you're gonna get that, and then you've been reading Marvel lately, so here's a couple of Marvel, and like it's so shitty because it's so effective. And I just think it's funny that we've gotten to a point where we live with the internet where we just accept that, okay, I know you're selling this to me, this better be good. Yeah. Because I've given up trying to fight it. At this point, I'm like, okay, this book is going to stop me from reading this book, so it better be fucking good, algorithm, or I'm going to be very upset with you. And most of the time, they don't miss. And we'll talk more about...
Those algorithms are pretty good.
We'll talk more about those books later. I'm interested...
Good books.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm glad that I'm reading comic books again, and that's really kind of funny is that the last couple of months I've been not ramping up, but spending a little more time on comic books, like current comic books. And it was really funny when a couple weeks ago when we were both discussing Tinfoil Radio and what to do. I won't say that I had an idea like, oh, we shouldn't do it anymore, but when you came to me and was like, you know what, do you want to do something else? I was like, yeah. And then you were like, comic books? I'm like, yeah. So it happened to dovetail really nicely with the show, which I'm really happy about. I talk about fucking comic books forever. Dude, I used to hang out, like me and my brother would hang out we lived in a country house in Marion, and there was like nobody else around. So we would go to the comic book store, which was the newsstand because they didn't have comic book stores back then, at least not within driving distance of us. We'd go to the comic book or go get our comic books. We'd go home, and then we had like a big old like this sectional downstairs. It was just gigantic, right? And it was one of those things where like the kids would get on and like bounce around because it was so big. And like he would take one corner and I would take the other corner, and we'd have like blanket, and Mom would bring us snacks, and we had a humidifier down there, or a dehumidifier, but the hum of the dehumidifier, and we would listen to the like rock, top 40 rock radio and read comic books and like, hey, here, give me that one, And those are some of my favorite memories with my brother, is growing up and just reading comics and discussing still today. I call him like, have you seen the Loki finale? Have you,
Yeah.
We still do that. And I am eternally grateful to comic books for, I can't say which is first, my brother starting to draw or him reading comic books, but they have very, very become interlocked. And that's why my album covers are so fucking kick-ass. But I just wanted to say that about my brother. I'm really, really, really love my brother. He's a great guy.
You love your brother?
And comics are great.
Look at you having a healthy male relationship. Anyway, so let's talk about me today. Let's talk about my
Let's talk about Jake, because he's kind of a snake and he's kind of late.
Oh,
late.
Huh. So this past weekend...
I love the fucking bullet.
Yeah, I
read it.
I have it on the rundown as what the fuck was Space Jam, and I wrote
True.
that. I wrote that before I watched it.
Oh,
and I think the sentiment still sits the same because I'd seen one of the reviews made me laugh because honestly, coming into this, there are some people that are big defendants of the first movie, and look, I get it. It's
Never seen it.
It's it was not your demo when it came out, because it came out in '96. I think, yeah.
I have a lot of my friends, my age, are huge defenders of Space Jam. In
Really?
fact, when I talk to people my age and they're like da da da, and I go, I've never seen Space Jam, they look at me like I just like.
Well,
pissed in their
you're really
Cheerios.
not missing anything.
I know that, but it's such a beloved cult.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing.
I work in sports radio too,
It's
so
a nostalgic thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I grew up with that movie. I watched that movie a lot as a kid, and
if I had seen it when I was a kid, maybe, you know what I mean. It's just I just never got around to it.
It was a part of that Michael Jordan craze of the '90s,
Yeah.
and that was probably the peak of it, because that's when he was coming back to basketball.
I watched all 6 championships when I was a kid because it was fun to see. For some reason when that came out, I was like, I'm not really interested in Looney Tunes or basketball, and it just missed me. But anyway,
So I'm going in with extremely low expectations, because I'm one of those people that enjoys the movie for what it is. Like, I enjoy it for that 90s cheese,
right?
but that's it.
It's part of the charm.
Yeah, it's not a movie that like, oh man, I fucking love it.
It holds up so well.
Yeah, because it doesn't. it's a stupid movie. It's a
It's a nice little 90s time capsule, kind of.
Right. And I saw the trailer for this movie, and I remember watching it going, well, that's fun. That's a fun take. Like, because this is over 20 years after the first movie. It's LeBron. So it already has those negative connotations with it, because people just don't like LeBron James. And honestly, when you're the face of a league for
An entire professional sport,
for well over a decade, you're the face of the sport.
almost 2 by now.
Yeah. It's bound to happen.
There's going to be haters.
Yeah, and that's not even touching the politics behind it, and we won't.
Nope.
So it already has that negative connotation to it. I think it's another thing where it's like, oh great, we're going back to another random '90s property, and we're making a sequel, and it's just a nostalgia grab, and it is all of those things.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie. Space Jam: A New Legacy is not a good movie, but it's about as good as a movie as I expected it to be.
Okay, fair.
So I didn't leave the movie disappointed. I didn't sit there and be like, oh, well, that's a fucking travesty to the Space Jam name. I'll be totally honest with you. It is a little frightening to watch if you're someone like me, because it's almost like you see all these properties in one movie, and you start to think, hey, maybe we shouldn't keep letting companies do this, because this is a lot of property.
I heard Rick and Morty was in it at one point.
Yes, there's a Rick and Morty cameo. If there's a Warner Brothers property, it's in this movie.
There was an outcry about it, and what ended up happening was they talked to Justin Roiland, and they said, how much did you get for it? And he said, I didn't get shit. Unfortunately, the likeness of Rick and Morty is owned by Warner Brothers. Like, they own the show, but if they want, because Warner Brothers distributes it, they basically used it without asking them, and they had no legal recourse because of whatever contract shit.
Yeah.
So he was like, "It's fine," but no, I didn't want that. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's not going to complain, because they put he gets a lot. I'm sure he gets a lot of money merchandising.
Dude, yeah, fucking A, man. I bought a goddamn box of fucking Rickos with the Funko Pop inside.
Nice.
They were not good.
Yeah, usually those Funko cereals aren't good.
No,
but
they're brightly colored and taste like chalk.
I went in with the expectation of that. It's just like, I'm just going to enjoy this movie for what it is. And if I don't like it, I don't like it. If I laugh at a few jokes, that's good enough. LeBron, I think, does. People said they feel like he was. Some people said he was sleepwalking in his performance. Some people hate it. I think it's fine. I think we
talked about this yesterday.
Yeah, the thing with these movies, with the first one and with this one, they're athletes. They're not actors. They're not built to carry a scene. So, yes, I can understand there's a little bit of a drop-off when there's supposed to be an emotional moment between him and his son in the movie. It might not work as well as anything else when he's with the Looney Tunes because they can just bounce off him. He's just the straight man in this, and I think he did okay.
What are you saying? All the Looney Tunes are homos?
Great,
Thanks.
great. Now we're canceled.
Yep.
You fuck. You ruined everything. No, and so the premise of this,
You owe me money for that.
the premise of the first movie is that these aliens.
Well, they got to save like the planet or something.
Well, these aliens are they have an amusement park and nobody wants to come to their planet, and so they're like, we need an attraction. Let's get Michael Jordan for some reason. And so they're doing it, or no, they want to get the Looney Tunes or I don't remember. I don't fucking remember.
Yeah,
the point of the plot is
you're like talking about it like
Michael
it's
Jordan,
fucking War and Peace, and it's like just
Michael Jordan and Looney Tunes are playing a basketball game so they don't become slaves on an alien planet.
See, one sentence.
Yeah, this one, it's a mixture of like Tron and the Lego movies.
Oh.
In a sense that it's acknowledging these properties exist in another kind of world.
Yeah.
So yeah, LeBron and his kid get sucked.
See, Lego Movie did it cleverly with all those properties.
Yeah. So LeBron and his son, there's something the algorithm, which is called Algae Rhythm in this movie. It's played by Don Cheadle, which I'll give him this.
I've heard Don Cheadle is like the lone bright spot. Is the review?
Don Cheadle fucking crushes it in this movie because he knows how ridiculous this movie is, and it's just like Jim Carrey in Sonic, where they know how ridiculous they need to be to elevate it to make it a more fun property. So is
Sonic any good?
Oh, Sonic's a great movie.
Really?
Sonic is.
Oh, it's great. It's fucking,
sorry, I'm gonna backpedal immediately.
It's Casablanca.
It's good for what it's trying to do. I think it's one of the better video game movies.
Come back to me when you're done with your thought about that.
Yeah.
Finish your thought, though.
But what I'm saying is he's just munching scenery. Like, he is fucking devouring it. And honestly, Don Cheadle is such a good actor and so charismatic that you like it and you enjoy it. And he really is the foundation for this movie. Like, the whole movie relies on his fucking chicanery. And it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
But the whole plot is LeBron and his son have a meeting with Warner Brothers, and the Algae Rhythm, he makes a video because he's like, how do I, and it's same setup as the first movie. How can I make this bigger and better than it needs to be? Because he's like the head of Warner 3000. It's in what he calls the serververse, which what the fuck? And he's like, well, I know I got to get LeBron James on board. He's an international star. He's the face of the NBA. You know, like, we got to get this guy. We got to get the king. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes he makes this whole video appealing to him that, like, hey, we'll scan your likeness and digitally put you in movies. You don't even have to show up.
That's cool.
We could just do that. And he's like, LeBron's like, this is a terrible idea. I don't like this.
Yeah. And
so the algorithm's listening in because he's like the AI to the whole entire mainframe of Warner Brothers. What the fuck ever.
Hey, is Don Cheadle in this movie?
Yeah. So then he somehow like manipulates the elevator, gets them to the server room. They go into the server room, and he sucks them into the serververse. And then he's like, "Hey,
so weird.
I got your son, and you want your son back, LeBron? You got to build up a basketball. You got to play me in a game of basketball." And he's like, "All right, fine, because we'll accept this at this point." So then he goes to Toon World.
Talk about suspending your disbelief.
He goes to Toon World, meets up with Bugs, and he's like, "Where are all the other Looney Tunes?" And he's like, "They all got persuaded by Don Cheadle to go to other fucking universes in the serververse, so nobody wants to hang out with me anymore." And he's like, "Well, that's sad. Let's go get a team together." And LeBron does the right thing because he's like, "Hey, I'm in Warner Brothers. Let's get fucking Superman. Let's get Batman." And then Bug Bunny's like, no, I got the perfect team. And they literally just recruit all the Looney Tunes. And he's like, what the hell, man? I know, man. There's a really cool sequence where they go to pick up Lola Bunny, and it's inside a Wonder Woman comic book. So that was pretty cool because the art style changed, and it looked like a motion comic kind of. But it still kind of kept the art style. I'll give them credit. Some of the animations in this are really cool. I'll give them that. Then we go ahead and they form the team whenever we get to the game. And the whole time LeBron's like, basketball is about fundamentals. It's not about jerking around and having fun. And then guess what? You know what happens? They learn that, hey, basketball should be fun and you should be yourself. That's the whole fucking moral of this story. Anyway, they do up the game, and then the movie goes in a direction I'm like, I don't know about this. He goes, hey, we need to upgrade you. And so the 2-dimensional Looney Tunes become 3-dimensional. And while the animation looks good on them, it's still
weird,
creepy as fuck. And I'm like sitting there thinking,
because you saw Lola Bunny in her shorts and you're like, fuck yes.
No, they desexualized her for this.
That's probably good.
No, but you know, there were some idiots online bitching about that. I'm like, of course you are, because you can't jerk off to Lola Bunny, you sicko. You know that's who those guys are. I don't want to kink shame.
I don't want to live with these people on my planet.
I don't want to kink shame. I'm just saying.
No, you should. When you're talking about it,
it's in a child's property. It's in a child's movie. Like, look, it's a family movie.
Based on the shit that comes up when I even open a porn site. Okay, there's plenty of cartoons out there for you, there, guys.
You don't need Lola Bunny.
Yeah,
or Jessica Rabbit. Anyway. No, yeah. So they
just admit that I jerked off.
Doesn't everybody?
Yeah. Hey, I don't feel so bad.
So and when you get to the big problem I see online, and I agree with in this movie, and again, wasn't expecting much from this movie, but where I think it does where it's not as fun is doing the property jumping and picking up the Looney Tunes. It's a fun idea in the first few,
but the execution is pissy.
Well, like when they go and get Daffy Duck, it's a great reveal because it's in Metropolis. It's got the Superman animated series music. And then you see the big S, and you're like, are they really gonna catch up with Superman? And then it's revealed to be Daffy. Like,
awesome.
That was a funny.
I loved those cartoons when I was a kid. When he became Superman,
or Super Duck. Remember when he was Green Lantern? It was Duck Dodgers, and he became the Green Lantern. He met up with the Green Lanterns.
What movie was that?
It was some Duck Dodgers thing. It was like a cartoon. Like, it was the series.
That'd be cool as fuck.
But anyway, no, like that was great. But then after that, it's like, okay, let's just because the pacing is so disjointed in those sequences where they're jumping franchises. Yeah. Like they just immediately jump to a scene inside.
If you're gonna do a montage, you have to have all the montage set pieces to be approximately the same length of time.
Yeah.
If you go and do, like you're talking about with Daffy Duck, and spend like 5 minutes doing that, and then the next one is like 10 seconds.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Is
you're going to be discombobulated.
The introduction to Bugs and Daffy, first of all, the first time you even see first time you see Bugs Bunny is like 30 minutes into the movie, which is too long.
Right?
Because you see, I just think the pacing's disjointed. And then you're right, because getting the Bugs together and then getting Daffy, those are together like, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes of the movie.
Right.
And then you're right. And then we go in this breakneck speed to fill out the rest of the team. And then Lola Bunny gets her own giant montage.
Yeah, you don't.
So you're like, okay, so clearly these are the important characters.
If you want to do that, that's fine. But make all the long ones at the beginning and then do
because I totally get it. Because they're in the spaceship, they're talking because they steal Marvin the Martian's spaceship.
Awesome.
And they're floating around the serververse getting these characters. They're talking on the ship. Bugs like spins the chalkboard, and then it just shows Austin Powers' face going, "Yeah, baby!" And then it goes into the scene from The Spy Who Shagged Me, where they introduce Mini-Me. But instead of Mini-Me, it's fucking Elmer Fudd. And then the naked cat that he's holding is Sylvester. And he goes, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Thuffer and Thuckatath." And then, fuck it, they're on the team now. Let's go to the next scene. And then they go to like this Casablanca scene, and it's Yosemite Sam playing the piano. And it's like, no, and you think dude, I'm telling you right now, this explanation is the same speed. This is real-time explanation. Like, this is how fast the fucking montages pick up in this one part of the movie.
No!
You gotta stop, because...
I'm sorry.
No. You gotta get ready, because there's more.
Oh, God. No, you weren't saying, like, enough of that. You were saying, like, dude, you're going to want to save some of that.
Yeah, hold back a little.
Okay.
No.
I'm sorry, but I just realized what the review that I read was talking about.
You didn't hear this part. They go to the Matrix. They use a joke from 2001, my friend. They find Granny in the Matrix. dressed up as Trinity.
No. Come on.
And she does the move where she jumps up and time stops and they spin the camera around and she kicks the dude in the face. And that's how they end the montage sequence. That's before they get Lola, because they're like, we need one more, and then they do the Lola Bunny scene, which again was cool. I liked her scene. It was just unbelievable. And then we finally, and this is what I was trying to get at.
So they butchered their own movies by shoehorning fucking cartoons into them. Wow. Fuck you, Warner Brothers. Continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, this movie is like capitalism, the movie. It really is a 2-hour advertisement for...
That's fine if you want to...
Subscribe to HBO Max. Look at all these great properties we have.
Yes, man.
That's really what it is. It's a 2-hour HBO Max advertisement. Jesus. Which is fine. I like HBO Max.
So I have some thoughts whenever you are... this
is the thing I want to point out. Yeah. For the people that want to say that this movie is just a bullshit 2-hour commercial, so is the first movie.
Yeah.
Both these movies exist to elevate the careers of Michael Jordan and LeBron James, to set up a thing like, hey, this could be a career path for me after basketball, because LeBron's getting it up there in age. He's going to be retiring in probably a few years.
You're not discovering the next Citizen Kane if you go see this movie, folks.
No, but he's just trying to say, like, hey... Maybe he's not leading man material, but you could probably stick him in a comedy like they did in Trainwreck, or you could put him on a team. You know, like you could even stick him in as like a random thug in a superhero movie, like a Marvel movie, because everybody.
Oh, he's a thug, huh? No,
you know, henchman. No. So I'll wrap up by saying I get that part of the movie, which is unfortunately a majority of the movie. I can see why that doesn't work for a lot of people, because I understand. Like, I hate when movies are just reference fests, and that isn't the part that I like about this movie. The game itself, when they finally play the game, that's when the movie is the most fun.
Okay.
Because that's when the movie really embraces...
So I should just fast forward?
Well, it's the same thing with the first movie. The best part about the first movie is the game itself. You know, all this other stuff is whatever. And... what's cool about it is LeBron's son in this story apparently creates this video game called Dom Ball, and it's like a street style, like high-tech video game with like power-ups and style moves and everything. So the algorithm, he's just like, hey, I'm going to download this game into the serververse, and so when they play in the climactic third act basketball game, it is the video game of Dom Ball. So I thought that was really cool. And I know you're not going to watch this movie, so I'm going to spoil this for you, and I'm going to tell you the best joke in the whole entire movie. Okay. Because Ashley and I are sitting there. We watched it on HBO Max. We're sitting there watching it, and she's like, do you think that Michael Jordan's going to show up in this movie? And I go, no, I don't think so. I think, and my thing was, even if they had approached Michael, I don't think LeBron would want that. I think LeBron is... like I'm not like I think he's like I'm not trying to live in Michael's shadow.
Right, anymore. He's trying to carve out his own legacy.
Yes, I'm doing a sequel. Yes, I'm doing a sequel to a movie he made, but it's also this is my Space Jam. This isn't his, right? Yeah. But regardless, they get to halftime, and it's just like the first movie. It's a gigantic, insurmountable lead. It's like 1,000 to 300 or something like that. And he's like, "What are we gonna do?" And da da da. Where in the first movie. Bugs would fill up a water bottle and he wrote Michael's special stuff on it. And he's like, what was in there? And he goes, it was just water. You always had it in you, you know, kind of thing. And instead of that, they do this joke, which I think is the best joke of the whole movie. Because Sylvester, the cat, comes in and goes, you guys, I found him. I found Michael Jordan. And they're like, what? And he's like, and they start, you know, like hyping it up like it's him, and you just see his feet, and he's like walking in, and it's one of those slow pan ups. And Ashley and I both were like, it's going to be Michael B. Jordan. And then he comes through the hallway, and it's Michael B. Jordan. And he's like, and then LeBron goes, that's not Michael Jordan, that's Michael B. Jordan. And then he goes, and then Porky's like, or Porky, one of them I think maybe Daffy or Porky or whatever, grabs Sylvester and like, you met Michael Jordan. You know who that is. That is not Michael Jordan. They don't even look alike. And he goes, I thought he aged gracefully. No, you idiot! You got Michael B. Jordan, and we don't have a Michael A. Jordan. And then I'll
take Michael B. Jordan. He's a good actor.
Michael B. Jordan is funny because his only thing was like, he goes, I was just trying to get some popcorn, and this cat pulled me in here. And he's like, you guys got it though. And then he like leaves. And it was the best joke of the movie because I was like, that is actually a reference that's pretty funny. Like there's some moments that are genuinely funny in this movie, but I get why people don't like it. And the best part of it.
And you spoiled all of them when your review.
There's no way to spoil that fucking movie because I don't even know.
Okay, so some thoughts on the Space Jam here.
Yes, real quick, let's wrap up the Space Jam segment.
The first thing is that sometimes these movies can be good, like you said, Sonic.
Jam, Space Jam.
I was walking through the living room a couple of weeks, about a month ago, when I still had a living room, and I was walking through it, and somebody was watching the Tom and Jerry movie.
Oh yeah, the one that came out
with Michael Pena and Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah.
I watched about 10, 15 minutes of it, and it was actually kind of good. I mean, it wasn't something I would maybe sit down and watch, but it wasn't like, oh, this is horrible.
Yeah.
So there's one thought. Every once in a while, some of these movies turn out to be like, wow, that was unexpectedly really good.
Yeah.
You know? And then the other thing, too, is if you're like a really smart AI from like space, and you want to get LeBron James to do something for you, okay? I wouldn't challenge him to a basketball game. I'd be like, hey, LeBron, are you really good at
golf?
No. Are you really good at building?
Molecular engineering?
Are you really good at building Legos, LeBron? And he'd be like, I've never built a Lego in my life. And I'm like, I challenge you to a Lego build-off because I would win.
Yeah, but don't you want a little bit of dramatic?
No. I want LeBron to do the things that I want to do, like the AI in the space. Yeah. I'm saying, if I wanted to get you to do something against your will, I wouldn't be like, hey, Jake, will
play that one thing you're known for.
I wouldn't go to you and be like, Jake, will you jerk off a lot? Because, I mean, you got that covered.
Nailed it. We're talking about a kid's movie.
Nailed it.
By the way.
Nailed it. I'd be like, hey, Jake, can you...
If I were to put it on a scale, 1 to 5 thumbs.
Up your butt.
I would give it a 2.5 thumbs.
Not bad.
It's an okay movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great hangover movie. If you had a long night before and you just want to put something on, Space Jam: A New Legacy is solid because
Dude, Where's My Car? It
doesn't matter what the fuck what's happening in that movie.
Movies, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's also it's a good family movie too. I mean, if you have some kids and you want to do a movie night,
one of those weirdos with a family.
Yeah. If you want to put this on with the kids, I mean, you could do a lot worse. I think. It's an okay movie. 2.5 thumbs. All right, so if you've made it this far, congratulations. Now you're going to get treated to something really cool.
Some serious shit.
If you want to read the book, I'll put a timestamp when we start right here talking about it because I want to give some spoiler-free thoughts. Like that's how we do our reviews. We give a quick little spoiler-free discussion, and then
we do mean quick. Because we're going to
jump right into the spoilers, right? So
might as well turn it off now.
Spoiler-free thoughts on Green Lantern Earth 1, Volume 1. I do want to preface this with, to the people that don't know, I want to say back in 2013, no, 2010 maybe, 2012 in that area.
All comics.
Because it started with
history of reimagining their characters.
Right. The Earth 1 line is a DC line that is in its own continuity. And it is created as a way to be a modern retelling of your favorite character's origins. So they have 3 volumes on Superman, 3 volumes on Batman, 2 volumes on Green Lantern. They only have 1 for Wonder Woman. They also have a Teen Titans book. They said they're doing a Flash, but I haven't seen anything about that in a while. So, and I like it. It's cool, especially for if... They're very contemporary, so if you really want to get somebody into comics, this is a cool way to do it. Right. You just need to make sure to explain to them that it's not in like a mainline continuity. It's its own continuity. Yeah. And I don't know if there's a plan to do a Justice League Earth 1 at some point, but I wouldn't be surprised. As far as I know, I haven't really seen them.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the other books reference each other.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I think kind of the point is, I mean, I'm sure that at some point some editor will be like, "Why we should get these guys?" But I'm willing to bet that when they proposed it to the creators, they were like, "They'll just be self-contained."
Yeah.
You do your thing, and
well, and it was a way to get writers like Grant Morrison and Jeff Johns and a couple others to kind of just not have to curtail to the mainline continuity and tell the story they want to tell, or a different take or whatever.
Right.
And we'll definitely cover the Batman ones and the super. And I don't think I've read Volume 3 of Superman, but I've read both of those, and I like those. JMS does those.
Oh, nice. Well, you got the
and Jeff Johns does Batman.
You have a lot of comic companies. Well, Marvel and DC in particular. They have such thick continuities. I mean, just literally, you could follow one particular part of continuity for like an entire year and still not get everything about it. And then, here's the worst part. While you're studying that particular piece of the continuity, the rest of the continuity has gone ahead and moved forward. So now you got all that shit to catch up on. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, it can be really, really irritating. So, sometimes in an effort to recruit new readers, okay, they will do something where they, for instance, the Ultimate line of comic books for Marvel, DC actually did one reimagining. They have a lot of reimaginings with those Elseworlds books, but one thing that I really liked is when they had the Just Imagine, when they did Stan Lee, like rewrote all the DC characters, and that was really, it wasn't super great, but it was interesting.
Yeah. So I went to grab the book because I want to get the names. So Green Lantern Earth 1, Volume 1 and 2 are written by Gabriel Hardman and Karina Becco, which they're married.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that until I read it in the book. They mentioned it.
Yeah.
I like at the back. It's like,
I like it.
what he likes to do in his spare time is this, and spend time with his wife, Karina Becco. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Wow.
And it's kind of weird because you don't really see a lot of married writing duos, especially in comic books. It's also art.
Louise and Walter Simonson.
Art by Jordan Boyd, which, by the way, Jordan Boyd kills it in both these books. The art is fantastic.
You killed it.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to clear my throat there, but let's talk about Green Lantern Earth 1, Volume 1. Spoiler-free thoughts. I'll go first. I love that in this story, Hal Jordan is an astronaut.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. I think it's a contemporary spin on him. And yes, you could make a contemporary pilot, but this is him being a pilot in a different way. And that's just a cool thought. So I like that.
It kind of is his original origin on steroids. Instead of being like a test pilot, he's an astronaut, which honestly lends a lot more weight to the story. I think.
And he's not just an astronaut. He's like mining. He's trying to mine planets.
In fact, yeah, at this point, he is no longer an astronaut, but he was. He's now like a miner. A space miner.
Yeah. And in this story, it seems like that Earth's technology is advanced. And in Volume 2, I'll tell you this because I'm about halfway through Volume 2. This isn't a spoiler for that. Because of Hal's existence and because of him being a Green Lantern, I think this, and they don't say this out loud, but I think it increases their ability to communicate with extraterrestrials because he can go out and protect them and show like, hey, this place is protected by a Green Lantern, it's safe, in case we want to bring in extraterrestrial refugees,
Extraterrestrials?
Extraterrestrial aliens?
No, I mean,
illegal extraterrestrials.
Listen, I said you could bring 10 extraterrestrials. You brought 12. You have some extraterrestrials.
So, what do you think about how they portrayed Hal Jordan in this? Their version of Hal Jordan.
So when we first meet him, it's hard to remember what I felt when I first started reading because I've read the whole book. And he does go through an arc that makes him extremely likable, if not. He never becomes like a cute and fuzzly.
He doesn't turn into the cocky.
Well, he's kind of a jerk, but at the same time, it's less of like, hey, I'm a big old,
I got it. I'm a Green Lantern, dude. I got this.
It's less than that and more of matter of fact. Like he just knows that the confidence is not cockiness. It's just sheer confidence in knowing that. I don't know. There's so many points in the book where like he's at a crossroads. Like there's a point where they're both him and Kilowog are both captured while they're doing. And we'll get into.
Whoa!
There's a
We
point.
haven't even touched. That's a big spoiler.
No, it's not.
They don't know that he's in it. Yeah, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
But like they're trying to figure out
There's
what
a lot
to
of
do.
hopelessness in this book.
Right, but he always seems like he's got hope no matter what. And
Yeah.
that's what is really compelling about this version of
yeah.
Hal Jordan, I think, is that you can tell that he's using his willpower
He's very resilient.
and
yeah.
he's written that way. He's written in the way that he doesn't have doubt, really. He just has problems and solutions.
Yes.
And that's really kind of a compelling way to write him, I think.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think this is the most likable Hal Jordan I've read.
He first comes off as kind of a dick, but then
because and there's just moments in this book that are it's hopeless. It's
Oh my
like
God.
there are parts of this book.
lot of parts.
I remember reading it. There's a section of this book where it is like you feel and it's that's what's so good about this book. It's so well written that like you feel for Hal, and when he's in the situation he's in, and you're like, you don't know how it's gonna. You know that he's gonna get out because you know that this is a Green Lantern story. He's gonna do something fucking awesome and get out of this. But in the it's also in the rules of the Earth One. So while I remember reading it, thinking, man, this is a really fucking dark Green Lantern book.
yeah.
And but then it has moments that like are so triumphant in comic booky and superhero, and you're just like
Epic,
and you're just like, fuck yes, this is a comic book. This is a superhero story. Like it pulls you out of it, and it gives you, it does an amazing job of making you feel hopeless in the story, and then immediately lifting your spirits up when you know what's going to happen at the end of the story, and you're like,
Right.
yes, he's gonna, like, it's awesome.
So great comic book artist. What's the artist to get name again? Let's get that one more time.
Jordan Boyd.
Great comic book artists. What they do is they're working in a frozen medium. Okay, there's no movement in the medium. I mean, you have to create movement, if you will. You know, there are panels on a page, right? Really excellent comic book artists are able to imply kinetic movement from panel to panel, and also, regardless of whether the face looks like a real face or not, are able to convey emotion through facial expressions. And there's one in particular part where somebody steals the ring and it doesn't get well for them. They're completely alien, but yet somehow Jordan Boyd is able to convey this being's facial expression, and you cannot help but see rage, anger, revenge, hope. I mean, you got to give it up for the art. That's also something that makes a good comic book is you read the book and everything else around you falls away because you're engrossed in the art and the story, and it just becomes your
I love
world.
the way that it's drawn, because when he's flying through space, at times that is used as a divider between panels.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Instead of
The panel,
the usual grid. Like the way that it's paneled is there's so many unique shots, and I love that and I think that's what drew me to comic books, and that's always drawn me to comic books, is just that unbelievable cinematic flair. Like you were saying, that's only in this 2D
comic
space.
books are done right, man. They can leap off the page.
Yeah. And this book does, and it's
really
the
does.
Jordan Boyd art, because when he flies in this story, it's so well done, because they understand that what makes this stuff is so cool is when you can show these people doing these incredible things, and to see like him like jet across space and rip through a manhunter and
the action scenes are bad. Here's another really good.
We'll wrap it up here.
Of
We'll
course.
get to spoilers.
Nothing against the writers whatsoever, but I would read that first volume, and if I had never read it before, without any dialogue whatsoever, nothing, no writing whatsoever, just the art, and kind of figure out what the story is.
Yeah,
that's also a good mark of a great comic book artist.
Yeah,
is that you can look from.
Honestly,
anyway.
if
let's get to the spoiler shit.
Well, if I'm Warner Brothers, I would follow this storyline. To make a new Green Lantern, I would follow this, because I think it's the most cohesive. I think it's the most accessible, and
especially the way the Green Lantern is in normal. It's so heavy. Talk about.
Look, I love the character Green Lantern.
Me too.
But I'll be very honest with you, I haven't read a lot of books. I've read some of Jeff Johns' stuff. but this is the first time, and this is what I wanted, because I'm someone who, there's just so much lore and so much complicated continuity with Green Lantern. I'm like, I want something simple. I want something easy. And that's why I love these Earth 1 lines, because you can take something like Batman and Superman, something that I'm well aware of and something I know, and make it new. You could take something like Green Lantern where I'm like, I don't really have a Green Lantern story that I really latch on to, that I really think, you know, I could name a couple Batman stories. If you're like, what's your favorite Batman graphic novels, or what's your favorite Batman storylines? I could give you a couple.
Yeah, me too.
Green Lantern, I would talk about, I fucking love the Blackest Night storyline. That was awesome. Like, I love that they did a new spin on DC Zombies with that. And then there's some really cool things. But like, this is something where I'm like, to me, this is how you tell a Green Lantern story.
Yeah.
This is how you build on that lore. Because while it does talk about Oa, and it talks about the things that are intrinsically tied to the Green Lantern, it still does it in a way that's new and accessible, in a way that's like, we're not going to have to deal with all this fucking...
It's not a convoluted...
It's not this drawn-out conversation with these blue guardians, like these big-headed aliens that you're like, oh my god, let's just get to the next thing. Because we all know that the council on Oa is the most boring thing about the Green Lantern. Like, I'm sorry, it is. And they tried so hard. Like, I remember when Johns was doing his run, they brought in the Guardians, and they brought in the First Lantern that was like killing the Guardians. I was like, I don't fucking care about the Guardians, man. I don't give a shit. They're the least exciting thing about Green Lantern for me. Anyway, let's get into spoilers. So if you haven't read the book yet, you know the rules. Listen at your own risk. Let's get into it. I want to talk about Kilowog.
Can I really, really, really quick talk about that person who stole the ring?
Sure.
Okay, so there's a part during the
spoilers now. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, there's a part during the that there's a section in the book towards the end, and I don't want to give too much away, but it is the most hopeless part of the book. It actually takes up quite a bit of the book, where he is basically stuck on Oa, and
which you don't know that. You think it's just a slave,
right? But this like tentacled kind of the blue female creature that steals the ring from him, because she's trying to help him escape. He falls asleep. She takes it. He runs after her, and when he's trying to get the ring back, I remember very particular, there's this one panel where she looks at him like she's got this expression of, fuck you, man. I'm taking this ring and I'm doing what I want with it.
Yeah.
Right before a manhunter just blows her away.
Yeah, she instantly gets killed.
Just vaporized. But the way, again, the expression, this is an alien being. A completely new being that I've never seen before, and yet I can see that the artist conveyed those emotions in that face, and that was what I was talking about. I wanted to really make sure you knew what part. I knew. I knew. I figured you did.
Yeah, I've read this book twice, because I read it. Actually, no, I think I read it 3 times.
The grit looks like grit.
No, well, and that's the thing. But what I wanted to talk about, because I love how they did Kilowog.
Yeah.
So again, what I love about Earth 1, taking what you know and just tweaking it a little bit, changing it. So once Hal gets his ring, him putting the ring on. Well, no, his buddy puts the ring on first, and then he gets it, and we'll get into that a little bit. Actually, no, fuck it. We'll just go right now. The spoilers, we're going to jump around a bit. How do you?
We're not going to tell them what happens, but yeah.
Well, I mean, we can. It's spoilers. It doesn't matter.
Sure, but.
They've already accepted they're not going to read it if they're this far in and they have it.
Well, you suck because it's a good book.
Well, and that's their fault. Anyway, so when Hal gets the ring, he awakens. And by the way, the ring doesn't choose him. How do you feel about this?
I feel good about it. I like that they literally rewrote the Green Lantern Corps. And they made
that's what the second book is. It's about forming the Green Lantern
Corps.
Corps.
Well, okay, so in the first book,
at least that's what I think it is.
There was a Green Lantern Corps. And then the Manhunters killed them all off. And that's where we open the first volume, is that, there's rings out there, but, they're kind of like contraband.
And the Manhunters were designed...
The Manhunters are still around, so if somebody uses a ring, then the Manhunters will find it and kill them.
It'll activate them, yeah.
Basically, yeah. So no, nobody's using Green Lantern rings, and that's why when Hal first puts his on, it awakens the power and also makes him a target at the same time. but he doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
They explain it later in the story about why the Manhunters. They weren't supposed.
Don't want to get all into that, but yeah, they explain it really well.
Just talk about it.
You go ahead then.
But I'm just saying, stop pulling up.
No.
Talk about the fucking story. We're in spoilers. Spoil the goddamn story. Anyway, after Hal activates the ring, it wakes up this Manhunter. He fights it in space, and he rams through it and cuts through it and kills it.
Which he's not supposed to do.
And he knocks out. He blacks out. Then he wakes up in a hospital bed on some foreign planet, and that's how we're introduced to Kilowog.
Mm-hmm.
Kilowog is interesting in this story because I like that he's a more nurturing Kilowog. Because the Kilowog we're used to is the one where he beats the shit out of Hal.
Well, he still comes from a culture that is extremely warlike.
Well, and also
which makes him an outlier in his culture.
Yeah, and he's just hard. In this one, he's a little bit more sympathetic towards Hal Jordan. Whereas usually when you meet him, he's already on Oa and he's beating the fuck out of him when they're training. But
those are some of the most, when we were talking about what a compelling character this Hal Jordan is, how he almost
Kilowog's fantastic in this story.
But almost all of the great scenes where Hal Jordan does the unexpected and just does it instead of thinking about it too much, a lot of them involve his interactions with Kilowog. Like when he takes him away from the planet at the first in that first meeting. I love how Kilowog is like, how did you do that? Like when he's talking about the Manhunter that he killed. Yeah. And he's like, no way. There's no way you did that.
And it's really funny because this is where you can tell that they cared about the mythology. Right. And they had a little fun with it.
Even though it didn't choose
Because when he wakes him up, Kilowog goes, you need to train me. And I was like, I thought it was like, oh, that's cute. Yeah. They're like, oh, yeah. And he's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what I fucking did. I just did it, and now I'm here.
Now, the ring didn't choose Hal, but clearly the fates have something in store for him because he's really good with the ring.
Yeah, and I think that the implication there, what they tried to do in this was saying that the ring did choose him in a way of he was born to be a Green Lantern.
Right.
Like this was what he was born.
Maybe not that particular ring.
Right. The ring itself didn't explicitly pick him, but he was destined to be a Green Lantern.
Destined to
I agree with you. I think that's what they're implying for sure. Because even in my belief, my understanding of the story, I was like, wow, he really is just fucking flying in space like no problem.
He doesn't plan that much, and that's one thing I like about this Hal Jordan.
And that's true to Hal Jordan's character.
He's more of a
Hal Jordan has always been the shoot first, ask questions later kind of character.
That's true.
So and I love that, and that's true to the character.
Yeah. And it works out most of the time for him. In the book. Sometimes
it goes back to sticking, and that's what these Earth One books are about, is sticking to the core of those characters, but telling new stories and being having unique perspectives. So Hal, it is cool that Hal isn't necessarily, and you're right, he isn't necessarily cocky, but he's very confident that he's very confident that he can figure it out. He's confident that he can get out of it.
He's a leader.
He's a natural born leader in this story.
He's got the qualities you look for in a leader.
I also love the fact that after he killed he killed a big robot in space.
Pretty big.
He's just accepted that, like, at this point, weird shit's gonna happen. Yeah. Hi, alien man.
That's the other thing too. Is like, he's almost unfazed. He's unflappable, really.
Because he's just like, you know what? I fought a robot in space. Anything's possible with no spacesuit.
He's walking
with
around,
a magical fucking ring.
He's walking around on this fucking slave world, being whipped and shit, and he can't understand any of these aliens. And instead of being horrified that he's the only human on this entire planet and all these strange, he just accepts it. Yeah. So that when the ring charges up again and he can finally understand them again, he's like, oh cool, I can understand them again, instead of like, like most of us would do, because that'd be insane.
I love what they did with him and made him more sympathetic, and then I love that he eventually still trains Hal. They still work that into the story. And honestly, again,
it's a symbiotic relationship.
They both Kilowog and Hal are written so well. I think the most fun of this book is when they're together, when they're buddy cop, like when they're training each other and they're learning it.
The part where they're trying to get drunk is awesome.
Yeah, and Hal explains to him, what it's like to be a human and Earth, and then Kilowog explains what's happening. So when the Manhunters do find them because they've been training and using the rings. So the Manhunters find them. This is also where we learn that he has to have the true to the character. He has to have the lantern. It's a battery. So yeah, the Manhunters show up, and then the other people that live on the planet are like, Kilowog, you fucking dick, you brought them here. Yeah. Why is this fucking thing? And then Hal's trying to help, and he's like, look, I get it that ring can translate and you can understand me, but you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And so the Manhunters show up, they try and fight him, they're losing. You think Kilowog dies, or Hal does, and he's like, oh shit, grabs Kilowog, shoots out into space. And that's what you're talking about, where he's like, how did you do that? How did you have that power? And he goes, I don't know. I just had to get you out of there. And he's like, you fucking killed my people. You took me. He's like, hey, man, I don't have a fucking planet either.
No, it's when...
Clearly, I don't know what I'm doing. I need your help.
When after he kills that first one in the beginning of the book where Kilowog rescues him. Yeah. And he's talking about like, yeah, I picked up the wreckage of the Manhunter that you killed. And he's like, how did you... Like I think he says like you shouldn't have been able to do that because he doesn't know how to use. But then
Hal also says that like, hey, he was also damaged.
No,
but Hal also is like,
yeah, it's. He's
like, dude, I didn't fight them as full power. That was a damaged one. Like, I can't do this alone. I need help.
I like when he finally gets the power in the battery and he just goes, damn. Yeah. Just blows that fucking Manhunter's head off, clean off, and like he's just standing right there. Damn.
Yeah. And again, I love it. I love this idea that the ring doesn't choose. But they wrote it in a way that it doesn't choose, but it does. Because we were talking about that, about how Hal feels like he was meant to be a Green Lantern.
Yeah, and he definitely was destined to be.
Right. And so usually when other people use the ring, they die. Which is because his buddy touches the ring that he's working with and dies. What's her name? This blue squid lady.
I can't remember.
Just talking about her.
I don't think they mention her name. Well,
I don't think they do.
No.
She uses the ring, gets obliterated. So it's like anybody that doesn't anybody with Hal uses the ring, they die, which I think is kind of funny.
Pretty much Hal is the only one who's smart enough to like run away as soon as he uses the ring because he knows the Manhunter's coming. Nobody else does. Yeah, they're like, what?
So
what the fuck is that?
Hal and Kilowog are going around trying to find the remaining Green Lanterns that are out there,
which is a great part of the book.
And again, the best parts to me of the book are when Kilowog and Hal are together. Yeah. I love it when they're together in the story because they work as you buy them as friends, because once he takes Kilowog off his home planet, Kilowog understands the dire situation that Hal's in.
He understands that it's bigger than both of them,
and they both realize they have to rely on each other to survive, and that's really cool. And eventually, while they're looking for Green Lanterns, they eventually get caught by the Manhunters, and they get put on this slave planet.
And you're not sure what planet it is or anything. It's not said.
There's no captions or anything. Right. And then eventually, Hal, his ring runs out, which is also a really fucking sad part of the book, is he's in a cave with Kilowog and they're losing charge on their rings, and they start can't understanding each other. I was sad. Like that hurt. That broke my heart. He gets up
and he's like, I'm gonna go try and find something, and then like that's when the Manhunters attack.
Yeah, and he's like, well, and then he realizes,
he doesn't know what happened to Kilowog because when he wakes up on the planet, he's
you don't see Kilowog again until the end, and you're like, did they kill off Kilowog off panel? Those fucks. So we go on the slave planet.
Talk about hopeless.
But eventually, at some point, Hal can start understanding the aliens again.
So yeah, his ring is inexplicably being charged.
He still has his ring on him, and he starts to realize, it's starting to get some power because he can start understanding.
He hurts his. I think. Okay, so if I remember correctly, and I just read it, kind of skimmed it last night. I've already read it once, but I skimmed it last night to refresh my memory. If I remember correctly, he hurts his hand at some point, and so his right hand is all bandaged up when they catch him. Yeah. So at one point,
he slips the ring off.
Well, he's like digging something, and part of his bandages come off, and he says he sees shit, and that's when he
puts his ring off.
But that's the only reason he has a ring and nobody else on the planet does. Yeah. So that's
he starts to notice he's getting a charge, and then he finds out that he gets a transmission from. It gets a message into his ring from. Oh, by the way, in this you can talk to your ring is like a Surrey. It's like an AI type of thing, and if you talk into it, you can send messages to other Green Lanterns and things.
It's like a Jedi holocron. You can
it's like a hologram type
information.
Thing. So he gets called in from a Guardian.
Yeah. who's dressed in a spacesuit,
perceived to be probably the last Guardian,
right?
Because I think in this continuity, they're saying that the Guardians were killed by the Manhunters. The Manhunters didn't just hunt Green Lanterns; it also hunted the Guardians, and that is what's implied. So there's like, oh shit, a Guardian's talking to him. So he's like, hey, look, the reason your ring's getting a charge is this is Oa. You are on Oa.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a fucking cool twist. Like, holy shit. The Manhunters captured these lanterns and put them back on their home planet and said, you can't leave.
Now, the best part about this is, so they have all their rings, so they can't leave anyway. But the best part about this whole...
Because once the ring turns on, the fucking Manhunters will swarm them.
Right. The best part about this whole thing is while it's, like 4 or 5 pages of exposition of what's going on.
Yeah.
In the entire, almost every scene, there's this gigantic fucking dome in the background.
Yeah.
It's never mentioned or even referenced.
Which I didn't
but they have to walk around it.
My first read-through, I didn't notice.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm saying that now because I skimmed it last night.
Yeah, no. Yeah. It's such a it's so far in the background.
Yeah.
That you don't.
It's just scenery. Like, oh, sorry. It's just scenery like everything else.
It blends into the rest of the environment.
Which is so fucking cool when they reveal that.
Yeah.
Hey.
But when he said that, he goes, no, I invented, they were too good. They captured all of them. They brought them here.
Yeah.
And he goes, and then Hal's like, well, that explains it. He's like, I didn't understand why the robots needed slaves. And he's like, yeah, he's like, no, they captured the lanterns, stuck them on their home planet, and says, we're going to make you stay here. And which is, again, a cool fucking twist. Like, and again, for someone who likes Green Lantern but doesn't really give a shit about the Guardians of Oa, I was like, that's a dope twist. And then the Guardian explains, he's like, hey, the only way to kill these fuckers is you got to overcharge this core. And that's going to give you like unlimited power. That's the only way you can do it. You got to destroy Oa.
He's basically trying to get him to destroy Oa and the battery. He wants
to destroy the battery, yeah. But Hal learns, because he goes in, he finds the dome, he goes in, and the Manhunters know. They're fucking coming out.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Requesting entrance. They're like,
force.
They're like banging on the door pretty much. And he's at the core, and there's this giant splash page of this big green orb that's the power core.
It's like the size of like the Sydney Opera House.
And then Hal goes, damn. Yeah. I think he was like, I thought he said like holy shit, but I think he might have said
breaks
damn,
in and he shoots his head off and he's like, damn.
Well, no, yeah, when he gets in, he's like, holy shit, like at the size of it.
Yeah.
And then he goes up to it to overpower it, and the Manhunter comes in and he hits him and he obliterates his head, and then when he uses this, he sends a message like calling all Green Lanterns, get to Oa. This is where all the Manhunters are. We can end this right now. So
you have no reason to trust me.
Yeah, I understand, but this is it.
I think he says, like, if you have a ring, like, please.
You'll get this. Yeah, because he says, send this to anyone that has a Green Lantern
And
ring.
that little furry dude, who he looks like he's wearing kind of a kimono, they talked to him at one point.
Yeah, and he was hiding his ring. Yeah.
Right, and he actually, they show him they show all these different lanterns.
Yeah. Dude, the final fight is so fucking cool when all the lanterns come in and they're taking out the Manhunters.
Before I forget, I want to mention, when I was growing up, Green Lantern, one of my favorites too, and he had a girlfriend, which actually, when you think about it in today's context, was really creepy. Aricia. And she's this yellow-skinned, or it's kind of orange-skinned with like really light yellow hair.
Oh, you talking about the blonde alien with the white...
Right. In the comic books, she joins the Corps, and she's like super young. Yeah. Which is really creepy that Hal Jordan and her are together. Okay, there's a lot of creepy Green Lantern shit in the past.
This is different continuity.
Right. But this is what I'm saying is that Aricia, when she does show up, is such a fucking badass. Yeah. Like, she literally almost kills Hal and Kilowog because she's like, you guys don't deserve that fucking ring. Like, it's just like...
Yeah, and then
I want to say hats off to the writing team for taking that tired old damsel in distress trope and turning it on its end.
By the end of this, Hal says, "Hey, you should lead the Green Lanterns." Right. And and again, I'm about halfway through Volume 2. In this book, this is Volume 2 takes place 3 years after the first book. And she's the leader of the Green Lantern Corps, which is like cool. So they flipped it on its head. It's not Sinestro, it's not Hal, it's her. So I thought that was cool. Yeah. So the Lanterns all show up. They have this big climactic battle, and they fight all them. They don't kill all the Manhunters because the Manhunters are spread across the entire universe. But the majority of them were on Oa. So, but instead of destroying Oa, they found out that they didn't need to destroy the core.
They just restore it.
They just were able to restore it, so then they have their power core back, so they could still go to Oa and back and all this.
But what about the twist?
And then we get the twist again that the Guardian that sent out the message was pissed because the reason he sent the message to Hal wasn't to free the Green Lanterns, it was to destroy them.
The battery.
Because he wanted to destroy Oa because that was the only thing stopping him, because he said, this is my better creation.
And you show
he's
up
a fucking
room,
Yellow Lantern.
A room, and all you see is a bunch of hands
and yellow
upraised,
lanterns.
and they're all yellow. Yeah, and it's like, he says, this creation, this ring is better than the other one.
Yeah,
or
this
something.
is my better creation.
Right, and it's like, oh, fuck.
So it was like, I was like, that's such a cool, and again,
and it's organic. It's not like, oh, come on.
Well, that's the thing too. And reading it the second time, it's such a better reveal, because I totally forgot about the Yellow Lanterns twist.
I did too. I kind of skimmed. Again, I skimmed the book last night to refresh my memory. When he first talks to the Guardian, I kind of skimmed like right past that because I knew it was getting towards the end of the book and like the big fight. And so then I kind of forgot that he had been there. And then so when I got to it, when I was skimming it last night, I was like, I had to stop and like actually read everything. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot about it. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, which is another cool twist. Instead of it being Sinestro, it's a the air quotes last Guardian. I'm sure we'll find more in volume 2. So I've read about halfway. I won't give anything away.
Yeah.
What do you think when we read volume 2? What do you think it's going to be?
There's going to be a giant orgy at some point.
Oh wow. Take that, Comics Code.
Yeah, authority. No, what do I honestly I don't know, because here's the one thing I really like about this book is when I watch like Law and Order and shit like that, I can tell like who's gonna be like the bad guy at the end, right?
Yeah.
The twist.
Yeah.
I almost couldn't predict any of that first book, and that's why I loved it. Yeah. So I don't want to predict anything because I don't know.
What I can tell without spoiling anything from being halfway through it, it definitely focuses.
Why don't we hold off on it, and after you're done, I'll read it, and then we'll do a review.
Well, what I'll say is, from what I can tell so far, it does seem to be more talking about Hal and his place within the Green Lantern Corps. Like, it's cool because they're rebuilding the Green Lantern Corps.
Yeah, that's the point of the next book.
That's kind of one of the big themes of the book, and it's cool from what I could read. And it's
cool.
It's an entertaining story. Yeah, we spoiled the whole thing. So if you
spoiled the whole thing,
if you have read it and you enjoyed the spoiler talk, I'm glad you did. If you had the whole book spoiled for you, that's on you. Go read volume 2 then, jerk.
Yeah, fuck you. Whoa.
Wow.
All
right, so that's it for Green Lantern Earth 1 Volume 1. Volume 2 we will read next week, and that will be then we'll think of something else. We're not gonna review books and movies the whole time. This is more of a free.
Yeah,
this is a fluid show.
We're doing books right now, but I think next week we'll do books,
and then next week we'll do more books.
Well, we'll do movies.
This is more of going to be.
We'll do movies.
This is more of the format. Is Tyler has something he wants to talk about. I talk about something, and then we usually have a book.
You know what I like about boobs?
A book or a movie or a TV show.
Oh, I thought you said whatever I wanted to talk about.
Let's wrap this shit up.
Tyler's long box. I just wanted to tell you about one of my.
Wow, man, you're not even going to Tyler's long box.
Tyler's long box.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Sorry, I was trying to do the sound effect on the fly. Tyler's long box. All right, Tyler, what's
creepy?
What's in your long box?
Boy, howdy, let me tell you, it's almost packed full to the brim. I got to get some of this out here on this podcast.
Just tell me the fucking books.
The Incredible Hulk.
Immortal
Hulk? The Incredible Hulk. I'm going to use the long box to talk about comic runs that were seminal and really great and that you should check out. Peter David and Jeff Purvis and Todd McFarlane. You can probably find a trade paperback somewhere. but it was when Todd McFarlane became really, really big on the scene is with his Hulk comic books. But they're basically what happens is he ends up getting blown up, and then he goes to Vegas and becomes a mob enforcer named Joe Fixit, and it's one of the greatest Hulk storylines ever. Peter David is he's
probably one of the Hulk's best writers.
Al Ewing is quickly becoming my second real close favorite, but Peter David
you're the one who made me read Maestro.
Oh man,
we're gonna definitely talk about Maestro. At some point.
But just a heads up, I believe I can't remember what the issue numbers are, but if you go into any comic store and say, "Hey, do you have any of that Peter David, Joe Fixit?"
You got any of that Peter David shit?
They'll be able to if you describe it a little bit. Anybody worth their salt should know what the hell you're talking about and point you in the direction. But that's my recommendation for this week, to check out a really good comic book storyline from years past. The Joe Fixit storyline back in the late 80s, early 90s.
There you go. And by next week, I will give you my thoughts, because you did give me a few books. I haven't had a chance to read them.
Asshole.
So I will give you my thoughts on them. Probably Planet-Size X-Men and United States of Captain America, because they're just the one issues.
And they're both kind of self-contained,
Yeah, Planet-Size X-Men, from what I could tell, looks pretty contained.
It is, but I mean, there's, like all the X-Men books, there's fucking fingers and everything else, too.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking. I know the backstory behind that, so I'm pretty up on it. Anyway, all right, we're gonna try a new segment. Since Tyler's got a long box, I want a segment. So I usually read my books digitally.
Jake is a digital,
because I'm a millennial digital guy.
I'm just gonna sit back here and do like Michael McDonald type flares for you. Okay.
This segment's gonna be called Unlimited Jake.
Unlimited Jake.
Oh, the reason it's called Unlimited Jake is because I have as I mentioned earlier, I have a Comixology Unlimited account that I forgot I was paying for a while ago, and I just said, you know what? I like comic books. I'll just keep reading these, because again, they have a shit ton of them. I just want to give a couple recommendations of books I'm reading with Comixology Unlimited. Number 1, Avengers versus X-Men. This is a storyline that came out in the summer of 2012.
AVX.
This is right after the first Avengers movie, and you could tell that they were really trying to like. To me, it felt like they ran out of some ideas and were like, "Oh, fuck it, make them fight the X-Men." I don't know, that they're popular again, so make them fuck the X-Men. I think it was Disney saying middle finger to Fox, but anyway, when it first came out, I remember reading it and not liking it, and now I think, 9 years later, am I going to feel differently about this? So
almost a decade.
So you can get on Comixology Unlimited. They have the full 12-issue. Story. And they also have the issue number 0 that has Scarlet Witch, and then they also have the Nova book that was a digital only copy that it happens between issues, the first 3 issues, I believe, like 1, 0, 1, and 2. So that's pretty cool. And then all 12 of the regular issues.
You're gonna hate me.
Yeah.
I was in Mayhem the other day.
Yeah.
And in their clearance section, they had AVX. The entire run.
Why didn't you grab it?
It was $18.
Well,
I didn't have $18.
It's not that if you have Comixology Unlimited, you could borrow it and read the whole thing, and then be done.
Such a reasonable deal.
Sponsor us, please. And then my second thing that I want to talk about that I just started reading, like the day before we started recording this episode, American Vampire Volume 1. Now, I'm a couple issues in. I'm in the first 2. I'm on Chapter 3. This story is interesting because it is written by Scott Snyder, who
some of the best recent Batman.
Here's the thing about
books.
Snyder. Snyder is a great horror writer because he has a book called Witches.
Oh,
W-Y-T.
dude, the Court of Owls storyline was just horrific.
Or the Batman Who Laughs,
All right. Yeah, he's a great writer.
He co-wrote the first volume with Stephen King.
Wow.
So here's the trick. There's 2 storylines happening at once. There's the storyline of... It's going to drive me insane. I can't remember her fucking name. There's a main character that's a woman in the early 20th century. She's in 1925 L.A. And they tell her story, and she's an actress or wants to be an actress. And...
Wants to be an actress.
She wants to be an actress. And the other storyline that's happening concurrently with this is the story of Skinner Sweet, who is he is a vampire that's been around. Pearl, that's her name. Her name's Pearl. The woman is.
If I had access to the internet other than my phone, I would totally go for a Comixology membership.
Oh, I have. Well, I don't have a tablet, so I have to read it on my laptop because I can't read it on my phone.
No fucking way. No,
I don't want to keep tilting the.
I would have to zoom in each panel.
Well, you can do panel,
and even then I'd be like,
you can do guided view. That's like panel to panel.
Yeah, I know.
But then
then you're gonna
constantly shifts perspectives.
Right, you're gonna move before I'm done reading and checking out the boobs on the. Oh, sorry.
Anyway,
I mean,
so yeah, Pearl's story exists in 1925. Skinner Sweet's story exists in 1880, and it's two storylines that they converge pretty early. But the storyline is that Skinner Sweet was an outlaw in the 19th century. He was on a train with this guy named Percy. Who hired a Pinkerton, got the Pinkertons he's like one of the guys in the Pinkertons, and he caught Skinner Sweet. He was in the train, and then Skinner planned that, so he had his gang fuck up the tracks and tip the train over so they could break into the train and get this Percy guy. Well, while that's happening, there's also a guy named Jim Book who's like the Pinkerton, who's like rivals with Skinner this whole time. And oh, by the way, this story is being told by William Bunting. He's like, when I wrote this story, Bad Blood, I didn't think anybody would think it other than fiction, so it had to be released as fiction. But this really happened, so he's like retelling the Skinner Sweet story. And as that's happening, Skinner Sweet has this Percy guy like gun against his head. I'll fucking kill him or whatever. And he's like, no, you won't. Kind of. And he turns around, and then Percy bites him, and then slits his throat. But as he does that, some of Percy's blood, because he gets cut up or whatever, some of his blood gets on Skinner Sweet, and it's a really cool shot of him dead, and then it cuts to him eyes wide open with a like grin and the tooth, like his tooth growing, and it's like this yellow eye, and it's like really. It's such a good, and this is what I love about this book. Like the art is so good, and when a horror book has fantastic art, it makes it just that much. Like there's a scene where Pearl becomes.
Why I love Immortal Hulk.
Yeah, Pearl gets swarmed by, and I'm not going to tell the whole thing because this is whatever. But there's a part where she's in this scene. She's a stand-in. And the actor is like, you're a really interesting girl. I need to show you to B.D. Blouch. And she's like, you mean the producer of the movie? And he's like, yeah, he would just gobble you up. And I was like, oh, this bitch is going to die. That's what I was thinking as I was reading it. And so he takes him to the producer. And the lighting and the shading in this book is so well done where I was like, ugh. Like the whole book I feel uneasy because she's in the room and this producer's like got this grin and he's like tinted red. And it's just the teeth, and he's like, I don't give a shit what you're trying to tell me. And then like 3 or 4 other shadows appear in the next panel, and they just swarm her and just tear this. It cuts away, but they like tear to shreds.
Aww.
And then you go to his Skinner's origin story, and then she gets found the next day, and she's like pretty much dead. And then he shows up, and he goes, and then Skinner Sweet finds her in her hospital. By the way, they have a conversation before, and he's like, you shouldn't go to this party. It's a bad thing to do. She does anyway. And then he like shows up in her hospital room, and he goes, I can't let you not miss this. Miss our nation. It's on the 4th of July. He's like, I can't let you miss our nation's birthday, and like kisses her on the like head or something. And that's enough. Like the implication in this mythology is if you're dying or you're dead and a vampire spills its blood on you, you can come back to life, but you'll be a vampire. And also the implication is Skinner Sweet is an evolution of the vampire. He's the American vampire, so he can be out in the sunlight, and he doesn't have as many weaknesses as European vampires.
Got a much bigger dick than European vampires.
But it's interesting. Volume 1 and 2, and I think 3 are on Comixology Unlimited. So it's an interesting story, and it spans like this is Snyder being like, this is like an epic storyline that spans centuries, like generations and centuries, because they're vampires, you know. Stephen King doesn't stay on after volume 1.
Well,
but he's writing, and it's really cool. So it's the 2 stories and they converge. Scott Snyder is writing the Pearl story, and then Stephen King writes the Skinner story. And then they converge, and then once they usually meet each other, they have a moment, then it cuts back. And there's a sequence where Pearl turns into like her true form as this vampire. And I don't know your beliefs on. I know there's people out there that hate in the mythology where vampires change form and turn into like these sniveling monsters. Me personally, I think it's cool. What do you think?
Wait.
You weren't paying attention.
I was looking because you were about to show the page.
Yeah. You don't know shit. No.
Sure.
I was saying to you, do you like it when they're more demonic instead of more humanoid?
I think female vampires should be sexy, and male vampires should be gross.
Really?
No.
That's sexist of you. That's her like full form.
No way. Really? Is it sexist?
That's her full form. She's got like these super long claws and her fangs are. That's what like the American vampire looks like when they're like fully formed, and it's gross and disgusting.
Why can't we just have a dude who's just got like those teeth, those fake teeth? I'm serious. You know what? I'm making a new vampire movie.
Sorry that was so long, but that was Unlimited Jake for today.
Well, I'm making a new vampire movie, and it's literally just going to be a dude with the fucking teeth, the werewolf teeth, and like really nice clothes.
That was pretty good art, though, right?
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
You know what else is horrifying?
Also, I also threw in American Vampire because I had been reading a lot of Marvel, and I was like, I don't want to... Being the Marvel fanboy is Tyler's gig. That's not mine, okay?
Yeah,
so I got to mix it up.
What the fuck?
So thanks so much for listening to another episode of Off Panel, Off Topic. Hope you liked it. Go read some comic books. Go read... American Vampire. Go read the Joey Fixit storyline. Read comic books, everybody. You'll be a lot happier.
Let's remember that comic books show us as does all art. Comic books show us a reflection of ourselves. What do we want to see in those comic books? Remember that the next time you're about to post some stupid ass bigoted comment on a post about diversity in comics.
Yeah.
What do I care if a hockey player's gay? Sorry, that was different. That was something else that happened yesterday. But seriously, it like all good art, comics reflect.
Just remember, there's somebody else on the other side of that keyboard,
right?
When you type shitty shit,
and also, yeah,
shitty shit.
Hey, us white guys have been represented in popular media for decades and centuries.
Here's what I'll say. Read a comic book and be a good dude.
There you go.
That's all you gotta do. Be a good dude.
That's our close.
That's our close. From now on, every episode we're gonna end it the same way. Be a good dude
and read a comic book.
That's shit. Why do you always gotta step on what I'm doing? Like I'm trying to do this thing.
Because I figure each one of us would
go.
Me and Jake running down the street with a handful of comic books, kicking ass and banging chicks and drinking booze.
No, not
and
me.
smoking weed.
I'm married.
Yeah, well,
I'm married.
Jake
Can't do that.
Yeah. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.